What's film? I mean, we know what film is, but what is it?
Pushed in a foot. She's incredible. She's coming right through the lens.
That's beautiful, man. That's great.
Ready, Nick?
Call it one.
All right, roll sound.
Well, it's about to go through reality.
Roll camera.
Rolling.
Scene 6, take 1.
It gets us to feel. It gets us to think. It gets us to experience. In short, it's a work of visual art used to recreate experiences that communicate ideas, stories, perceptions, feelings, and beauty through the use of moving images and sound. Film is recreating reality to a degree. Some filmmakers argue film is in fact reality. We'll cover that in part 2. Film stimulates 2 of the 5 endowed senses we are born with, sight and sound, 2 very powerful senses that act as the key information highways for ourselves. But what information? Well, that's been up to the filmmakers to decide. Film is a very young medium and form of expression. Painting has been around for 40,000 years, writing began 5,500 years ago, sheet music started in the 15th century. Though film's been around for just 125 short years. When we investigate what the philosophy of film is, we must look at the philosophy of aesthetics. Aesthetics. A branch of philosophy that deals with the nature of beauty, taste, and sensory contemplation. It covers both natural and artificial sources of aesthetic experience and judgment. It considers what happens in our minds when we engage with aesthetic objects or environments, like film. As humans, we are always looking for meaning. These meanings are based on the juxtaposition of signs, symbols, moods, and ideas based on our cultural associations of them. These associations and their qualities conjure up the memories and understandings we have of them. Signs are literal meanings that denotes and are specific, while symbols are abstractions that connote and are not necessarily specific, yet communicate universally. Let's do a simple experiment. Here's an empty frame, just darkness. What does it mean? Nothing? Maybe the void? Or emptiness of space? The unknown? Whatever thought it gives you is valid. Let's start progressively adding some elements to it. Now, what's that? Looks like a light greenish shape of some type, not quite sure. We need some more information. Okay, there we go. Now we got a contextual environment. So it looks like a small tube of lotion or chapstick standing on a table with maybe a monitor in the upper left of the frame. Still doesn't mean much. Let's keep adding. All right, a red pack of cigarettes. One is sticking out. Looks like there could be Chinese characters on it. Great. That's an explicit sign, so Chinese cigarettes. Notice, as we are adding elements, we are able to orient ourselves more and more. Now, let's complete the picture. What does it mean to you? This picture is illegal in China, censored and taken down by Chinese internet watchdogs. Why? Well, because of the cultural symbolic associations derived from this picture taken during the Tiananmen Square massacre, a political black eye China would rather forget. This goes to show how powerful a single frame is with recontextualized elements. The frame acts as a portal into another world, another reality, constructed out of the profound interplay of these signs, symbols, and ideas. We walk into our film with our expectations and understandings. Filmmakers know and utilize this. What happens when you sequence images together in rapid succession? Film adds the dimension of time to it a single picture does not, creating a heightened sense of realism through motion and sound. Movement creates interest and guides the eye. This heightened realism creates a potent method of transporting the viewer and disseminating large amounts of information, consciously and subconsciously. Stalin used it to share propaganda in order to mobilize a largely illiterate Russian populace. The universal language of film magnified its accessibility to people. Russian filmmaker Lev Kuleshov created a concept coined the Kuleshov effect, a principle in editing demonstrated as a mental phenomenon by which viewers derive more meaning from the interaction of two sequential shots than from a single shot in isolation. The functions of film exploit our emotional sensibilities. These functions could be wrapped in abstraction, representational meaning, or most commonly strung together to form a narrative.
This is great. What's up with you?
In the essay titled The Self as a Center of Narrative Gravity by American philosopher Daniel Dennett, he describes how we view ourself intrinsically tied to the narrative paradigm. When we recall a memory, we use narrative to delineate our timeline and fill in gaps of memory with rational explanation that fits the overall story, typically in a 3-act structure, though it can just be 2 acts, or even just 1. Ancient narrative structures like the hero's journey have been inherited and frequently adapted by film to tell its stories. Information has been passed down generation to generation through narrative. How we share our mythologies, origins, where we came from, where we are now, what we understand and know are tied to narrative, largely based on conflict, resolution, and by what means it gets there. This has been the primary function of film in its commercial application. This video will investigate narrative film functions, and in part 2, the non-representational abstract functions commonly found in experimental films that don't necessarily hinge on telling a story. So how does film tell a story? Well, through its techniques. How it uniquely communicates through the interplay of motion picture language, sound, script, actors, environment, music, costume, makeup, props, blocking, color, editing, flashbacks, voiceover, and effects, all in collaborative reinforcement of each other. These are just some of the tools. The most important tool is light. This is what filmmakers use to paint with. What is lit gets our attention, while what lies in the shadows is unknown, though this contrast can be reversed by using silhouettes that reveal form. Sound is separated into diegetic and non-diegetic sound. Diegetic sound is any sound that emanates from within the story world of the film, while non-diegetic sound is any sound that does not originate from within the film's world, like the film score. Of course, within this is dialogue, voiceover, music, effects, and ambient noise. All these synchronized together along with the moving images constructs the film's world. Like a painting, film exists in layers within the frame, made up of the foreground, middle ground, background, subjects, and elements. The rule of thirds is an old theory about composition that still works pretty well. It won't compose the picture for you, but it will give you a place to start. The idea is to mentally divide the frame into thirds horizontally and vertically. Where these lines intersect are hotspots where the center of interest usually is. Leading looks is the amount of space you leave in front of a subject's face or object's front. Almost everything has a look, not just people. Filmmakers use leading lines to direct the viewer's eyes. And frames within the frame are used to create more interest and depth. Think of the frame divided into its respected elements that all add up to 100 on a scale of how much it grabs your attention. How is your attention divided and why? A filmmaker has infinite possibilities of where to place the camera, its angle, movement, composition, and focus, let alone all the other variables. So what are the best decisions in order to inform what's going on in the scene? What is the function of the scene for the story? What is its point? Filmmakers make their decisions through this prism. Only film can transmit so much information in such a short period of time with such little effort from the viewer. Watch Part 2 to dive into experimental films, their philosophy, techniques using abstraction, non-representational, and recontextualized elements. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Until I see you on the next one, have a great day.